Okay, hello everybody. We're just waiting for people to log on, and I can see the ticker going up, and 50 so far. Very pleased with that. You have reached the Ukraine Britain Business Council's webinar. We have a number of very distinguished and very exciting guests on this exciting project. Firstly, I'd like to introduce, we have UK International Development's Andrew Horsley, who's going to be setting out about the new £17 million grants for Ukraine, UK business innovations and renewables. So we'll be hearing from him with Evelyn Kavala from the Foreign Office and Department of Business. So we're looking forward to that. We'll be swiftly followed by Henry Sayers from UK Ukraine Tech Bridge, who will be talking about their startup scheme and the accelerator and all the things that they're doing. We'll be followed by Daniel Sawko. I hope Daniel's logging on. He should be here soon. Of Shipshape from the private sector. And the interesting thing about Daniel is he has a global platform that enables tech investors to find out where to invest their money and vice versa. And finally, but not least, is Anzhela Shashchak, Director of Cormack, who are education. Hello, could you please mute yourself, everybody, if you're not speakers? Thank you. Anzhela Shashchak, Director of Cormack, who have been running the UK-Ukraine University Twinning Project with over 100 universities and projects going on. And she has a network of over 3,000 universities that collaborate through Cormack. So hopefully we've got most of the people that know what's going on in terms of innovation, Foreign Office, international development, innovation in the UK, and also in universities. So I'd like to thank you all for logging on. And without more ado, I'd like to hand over to Andrew Horsley and Evelyn Kavala. Looking forward to hearing from you.
I'll just share the slide deck, Evelyn, then you can start. 1 second, let me just put it onto
Thank you very much, Andrew. While we get the slides going, I'll introduce myself. My name is Evelyn Kavala. I'm an energy program advisor at the British Embassy Kiev. Perfect. So I'm here to talk to you about Innovate Ukraine, which you can see on my background and also on the slide here. So Innovate Ukraine is a low carbon challenge fund funded by the UK government. So we have already run one round of this exciting competition. And if you Google Innovate Ukraine, you can see some information about the first round and the types of projects and consortia that won funding underneath that first round. And we're at a very exciting moment for the programme because we're about to launch a second round of the competition. So we announced that a couple of weeks ago. That was announced by the Foreign Secretary David Lammy during a trip to Kiev. And we've announced a funding envelope of up to £17 million, which will go towards the component which you can see at the bottom of the screen. So that's innovation. So this is just one part of the UK support for Ukraine. We also have emergency relief, which is all about fixing the grid, providing generators and equipment. On the right, we also have private sector investment, and on the left, we have technical assistance. But yeah, today the focus is all on innovation. And what we want to do is kind of communicate to all of those here today about this opportunity, give you a bit of a sense of how to apply, and put on your radar the fact that we're going to officially open applications on the 10th of March. So at the moment, we're trying to kind of raise the profile as far as possible and make sure that we attract the best possible bids. So that's why we're here today, and I can hand over to Andy to talk a bit more in a bit more detail.
Thanks, Evelyn. So the purpose of today really is to share this news with you. If you're potentially interested in applying for Innovate Ukraine, then great. If not, then our plea to you is to share this opportunity around your networks to help us to get the biggest possible response to our programme, because the bigger response that we get, the better quality those projects will be that we are able to fund. So we're really reliant upon networks like this one, and Ashley's very kindly agreed to let us speak today to try to spread the word and make sure we get the best possible response to this. So the purpose of the Innovate Ukraine programme is first of all to identify innovations which can support Ukraine's recovery. So it's all about finding those innovations that are going to make a real difference to Ukraine when Ukraine is in recovery mode. It's also about stimulating activity and investment in energy innovations, which otherwise wouldn't happen without an intervention like this. So we're trying to find things that probably wouldn't happen on their own, that we can fund and make a change through the intervention of Innovate Ukraine. And all the projects that we fund, we look where possible for those to demonstrate their concepts in Ukraine wherever possible, or at the very least in a representative environment. But most of the projects we're funding in round one, for example, and I'll explain a few of those to you in the next couple of slides, most of those are actually demonstrating technology in Ukraine already. And the final part is supporting commercialisation. So we want projects to have a life beyond our funding. Typically, our project lasts for about 2 years. And after that, obviously, we want to see some momentum towards those projects becoming investable in their own right and to have a life beyond our funding, ultimately to be implemented and make an impact in Ukraine in terms of their commercial success. So in terms of how, the scope of the program, the eligibility, on the left-hand side, you can see that there are a set of priority themes, and these are the areas that we've agreed with the Ukrainian government as areas where we think we are particularly keen to see activity and projects related to. So it's quite broad. So it's everything from green infrastructure, so green grids, renewable generation, renewable heat, green fuels like biogas, hydrogen, low carbon buildings and homes and low carbon building materials, industrial decarbonisation, and the repurposing of Ukraine's existing fossil fuel infrastructure. So it's very broadly set around energy, low carbon themes. And in terms of eligibility, every project we fund has to have at least one UK and one Ukrainian partner. But we don't stipulate the balance of funds which goes between any one partner. So it's totally up to you as to how you structure the team. The other partners in the program can be from anywhere in the world. So this is it's open on a worldwide basis, but there has to be at least one UK and one Ukrainian partner. And we're also funding what we call industrial research here. So we're funding mid-stage projects rather than early stage feasibility studies, because we want to see through our projects examples of the technologies being demonstrated on the ground in Ukraine in real world settings. So we're looking for kind of mid-stage innovations that are on their way already towards their implementation. The projects last for up to 24 months. So we're talking about a reasonable period of execution for the scope of work that we're going to fund. And the scale of them in terms of costs can be anywhere between £50,000 and £2 million. So again, we're making fairly significant contributions to the right energy innovations, rather than funding small contributions to lots more. And we're really trying to be targeted here and make a significant contribution to a small number of innovations. So that's the costs. So the level of funding that we will offer to cover those costs varies depending on the kind of organisation that's involved in your consortia. And it's anything from 100%, and that will be for not-for-profit organisations, for universities, for NGOs, and for commercial organisations, so for businesses, it's between 50 and 70%, depending on the size of that business. And every project must include at least one business. So we don't want to fund here pure academic research, although academia is definitely a part of this, and it's a big part of the programmes we're funding already. But we always want a commercial outlet to every project. So it must include at least one business, and that could be Ukrainian, it could be UK, it could be elsewhere. So some examples of our projects from round one. I'll go over this very, very briefly. So the first one I'll explain, we've got 13 in total, but I'm going to explain 3 here. The first one is a dual heat pump technology. So this is a new kind of a renewable heating system, which deals with the challenges that Ukraine faces and also the UK faces in integrating heat pumps into existing buildings. And the idea is that with this new kind of heat pump, we can deliver much hotter water into a building, which means that it can directly replace a fossil fuel boiler. Existing heat pump technologies deliver a much lower temperature, which means that you have to make a significant change to the building's heat distribution system, and that comes with cost and time and inconvenience. So it's really important for Ukraine and actually the UK as well to find a solution for this. And that's one project we're funding, and we're testing this in the Institute of Engineering and Thermophysics, and actually there'll be an installation there later this year, which will test in the next heating season. The second one is called AirFuse. This is all about battery storage technology, and this is piloting a new low-cost battery using iron salt as its basis. And the idea is this can be delivered for about a third the cost of lithium-ion batteries. So for stationary storage, for supporting renewable installations, for increasing the amount of renewables on the grid, this is really very important for Ukraine. It's obviously it can be done more cheaply. It needs no rare earth metals in its manufacture, so it can be readily manufactured within Ukraine. And again, an interesting one for Ukraine, but also in other markets as well. And the third one is all about reconstruction and green building materials. And this project is seeking to take demolition waste, so concrete waste from demolished and damaged buildings, and be able to break that concrete down into its original constituent parts, so into sand, into aggregates, and also to be able to reactivate the cement fraction. So effectively, you can rebuild a new structure solely from the waste from an old structure. So again, that's going to be really very important for Ukraine as it starts to rebuild, to try to reduce the environmental impact of the reconstruction, to reduce the cost of the reconstruction, and to reduce the need to move materials all over the world to support that process as well. So really, really very interesting projects. So just some key dates then. So you've heard about round one, that's running right now. We've got 13 projects which are funded with £60 million. Those projects will come to an end in March of next year. And round two, which we want to talk about now, the applications for that will open on the 10th of March, so in just less than 2 weeks' time, and they'll be open for 10 weeks. So it's really important to know that the applications will close on the 23rd of May, and projects are applying for a share of that of £17 million this time, so slightly more than last time. And we expect the projects that we fund to be up and running towards the end of this year, and again to run for around about 24 months, so around about 2 years. So to find out more, the first thing I recommend that you do is to register on our website, which is innovateukraine.io. Through that website, you can connect with other partners who are interested in the program. You can learn all about the application process. You can get invitations to the full briefing event, which we're holding on the week commencing the 10th of March. So really important that you register on the site. And if you're interested to share this with your networks, and Ashley already has a copy of the flyer that you see on the right there. I'd be really keen if you have a network in Ukraine or in the energy sector, if you could share that flyer through your networks, and again attracting people to that website, so we can get the best quality applications for the biggest impact. So thank you all for your time, and I hope there's some people on here who might be thinking of applying. But in the very least, I hope you can share this with your networks and help us to share the opportunity around. Thank you very much.
Andrew, thank you very much. That's very exciting. If I may just ask one or two questions. The first thing is to clarify that there are no strings attached to this money. You don't have to give equity away. You are simply developing innovation for whomever might take it up.
That's correct. It's pure grant funding, so there is no dilution of equity at all. But the real driver is to be able to demonstrate the impact of your project and proposal and technology for Ukraine's benefit. It can also have benefits elsewhere. A lot of the things I've talked about have applications outside of Ukraine, but it's really driven by maximum impact for the setting that we've got.
The second thing is that three of those examples are really pertinent for the UK as much as anybody. I'm looking at the salt the air fuse one in particular, where Mr. Trump may not actually need some of those lithiums. You can get it from the North Sea by the sounds of things. But are those projects now sort of ready for commercial investors? What's the sort of likelihood that they're going to become commercialized?
Well, the air fuse project already has quite a long list of interested end users. It hasn't got follow-on investment at this stage, but I think it's highly likely, like you say, given the relevance of that technology to various settings, not only in Ukraine. I think it's very likely that we will see that one start to take shape. I mean, at the moment they're testing a 15 kilowatt battery, so it's a relatively small test scale that they're doing in our project, but they're looking to ramp that up to 75 kilowatts in a follow-on stage already. So they're already deep into actually understanding how they're going to take the work that they developed through our project and turn that into a commercialized technology. They're very, very focused on that. So yeah, and that's just one example. I think that they've all got their own story. They're all at a slightly different stage, to be honest, as you would expect. But some of them, I think, are fairly close to having a commercialized technology, or certainly will be by the end of our program.
Very exciting. It'd be fantastic to have these outcomes for the UK, not least Ukraine. I'd very much now like to introduce Henry Sayers, who is running the UK-Ukraine Tech Bridge. Henry, are you with us?
I am indeed. Hi.
Looking forward to your visuals. Okay.
No visuals. I'm just going to go with a verbal
Okay.
presentation.
Yeah, super. Looking forward to hearing you. Over to you, Henry.
Thank you, Ashley. Hi, everyone. My name is Henry Sayers. I'm the UK lead of the UK-Ukraine Tech Bridge. It was an initiative that was announced at the Ukraine Recovery Conference in 2023 by our former Prime Minister. It's a joint initiative between the Department for Business and Trade and the Foreign Office and the Department for Science, Innovation and Technology in the UK, with the Ukrainian Ministry for Digital Transformation. Overall, our objective is to support Ukraine's economic resilience by partnering Ukraine's very innovative technology sector with the UK's quite substantial technology sector as well. What we're working to do is bring together partnerships to deliver new trade, new investment, enhance collaboration on innovation, and to deliver digital skills training opportunities for Ukrainians. This initiative was announced in 2023. We launched the program in 2024, back in January. So
I think you might have frozen, Henry. Okay. 2024, I think you've unfrozen now.
Fine, thank you. So we've had 1 year of delivery, and we've been focusing on a handful of sectors, including artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, agricultural technologies, education technology, healthcare, and humanitarian demining. Our objectives here is quite specifically to support immediate needs in Ukraine and to leverage quite clear strengths that both of our industries have. So over the last 12 months, what have we done? We have delivered numerous business-to-business engagement events with the support of trade associations such as Tech UK and their sister organisation IT Ukraine. We have worked with industry to deliver 7 individual training platforms for Ukrainians, partnering with Google, Cisco, Salesforce, and Deloitte, to name just a few. We are working with colleagues like Andrew to be able to deliver some innovation exchange workshops. And we have also delivered an investment accelerator pilot last year. So we were working with the Ukrainian Startup Fund to help 20 Ukrainian SMEs to be able to go through a training course and to have the opportunity to pitch at London Tech Week to a room of British investors to help drive investment into Ukraine's SME community, to help sustain that growth, and to be able to provide an opportunity for UK investors in Ukraine. Excuse me. What we have coming up this year, which I'm very excited to share, we have a startup competition taking place next week. We have selected 6 finalists representing capabilities within the Ukrainian ecosystem for agricultural technologies, cybersecurity, and green/sustainable technologies. And we would very much welcome British partners and British investors who are interested in seeing what these pitches are to come along and join us. We'll be running phase 2 of the investment accelerator, building on the lessons learned from last year and being able to scale up dedicated business matchmaking, improved engagement with British investors who are now more aware and more engaged with the opportunities in Ukraine. And we're also looking forward to delivering a roadshow, bringing Ukrainian businesses to the UK and showcasing some of the great strengths that we have across the regions in England and across the developed nations. Thank you.
Henry, thank you very much. Really interesting. Out of interest, can you point to sort of successes that you've had that people are sort of very happy to articulate?
Of course. So the investment accelerator last year, we did a check-in around December to see what the outcomes have been for the 20 businesses that participated. Of the 20, 10 had reported a collective generation of new business deals worth approximately £6 million, which is a great return, and we're hoping to achieve similar results again this year. I also note that the Ukraine tech sector has been growing during the war. I mean, they're doing great things, obviously, from drone technologies through to working independently and internationally. I mean, it's a pretty bullish area to look at.
and presumably after the war, you could see that exploding even further. Can you share some observations about Ukraine tech? Because in many ways, it seems better than some of our capabilities in certain areas.
We recognize Ukraine's incredible resilience and incredible innovation in technology in particular, which is why this initiative has come together in the first place. We see it's on a very clear trajectory, and the UK needs to work very collaboratively with our international partners to help us achieve our industrial strategy goals. There needs to be international partnerships to help us succeed in our ambition, but also to help Ukraine's industry to continue on that trajectory as well.
And anyone listening, and that could through this video could go to quite a few different audiences. What is your ask? What would you like people to do as a consequence of knowing about these projects?
That's a good question. So I would like people to reach out to us. I'm going to share some details in the chat, which includes references to our sources and some of our open calls. I should not forget to mention that we have a sponsorship open call out at the moment for any businesses that want to be more involved in some of the projects that we're delivering. We have opportunities for businesses that want to be mentors for Ukrainian SMEs. We have opportunities for investors that are interested in this trajectory in Ukraine. We also want Ukrainian businesses to reach out to us to understand how they can work through us to access opportunities in the UK.
Thank you very much. And do you work closely with, say, UK's Innovate UK, who are very good at scaling up and working with companies over in the UK?
Very much appreciating working with our very own Andrew Horsley here, actually. It's been a great partnership so far, and looking forward to doing more together in the future.
Okay. And Henry, thank you very much indeed. And also to say, Andrew, if you could possibly put your PowerPoint in the chat so people can also maybe access it, that would be very helpful. Thank you very much, Henry. Great to see you. And I'd like to now come on to Daniel Sawko. Daniel, are you here?
Yes, actually, thanks very much for having me.
Fantastic. Good to see you, Daniel. Thank you for joining us. You are Daniel of Shipshape, and you're an entrepreneur, which is exciting from the private sector. And I understand you've got a platform that is extremely useful for investors and investees alike. So very keen to hear it, and also how you can work with, for example, the organizations you've just heard from.
Hi everyone, Daniel Sawko, CEO and co-founder of Shipshape.vc. So we're a free-to-use investment search engine. By way of a bit of like family history and background, so two grandparents who are originally from Ukraine, and we actually have a team in Ukraine as well who are helping us build a free-to-use investment search engine. So the whole concept came about from a mistake I made in a previous company when the CEO and founder of that company said, Daniel, you're good at research. Please go find which investors are actively investing in our technology. I thought, oh, how hard can that be? And I quickly realized actually it's really, really difficult. And if you're building emerging technologies, it's really difficult to identify which investors around the world are actually investing in that space. So that's why we've built a search engine. So I'm going to give a very quick sort of whip around tour, and I'll definitely touch upon the points about how we work with other organizations. So what we've done is we've built something that's entirely for, primarily for founders who are building. So for example, let me just try and pin this elsewhere. So for example, you can run searches for highly specific technology. So actually, we're gonna run a iron salt batteries. We're gonna see if anything comes up for this. But basically, what the search engine enables you to do is to run searches for how much you're raising, what funding you're seeking, and identify which funds around the world are actively investing both in that technology and also in related technologies. And what you can do is you can see whether or not funds can lead around. You can see which companies they've invested in. You can also see how active they've been recently. And that's just really helpful if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a founder, to see if a fund is active. And you can also see where we've got the data about that fund itself having raised recently. So you know whether or not a fund is likely to be in a deployment cycle. You can see more information. So you can see things like, you get greater detail about who they've invested in, when they did it. you can see sort of minimums and maximums in terms of investments. And you can see the companies that they've invested in. So the fact that Volo Earth have invested in Nth Cycle means that you can see actually they've got experience investing in related areas. And you can also like look through the other portfolio companies. So again, you can see the fact that Volo Earth seem to have a strong preference for investing in clean technologies. And you can also see the people who work there. So you can see individuals that are there. You can actually shortlist these individuals. So you can say, actually, Erin sounds like she might be relevant to reach out to. And once you've shortlisted those individuals, you can actually export those details. And for it's just under 1 in 10 investors, we also have the email. It's all based upon publicly available information. We've got about 25,000 funds around the world incorporated into the search engine. And that number is constantly ticking up because we're constantly monitoring activity, drawing that into the search engine. And it's if you're an entrepreneur and you're raising capital, it's free for you to use. So that's what we do. And we work very closely with government and sorry, I'm getting it. Okay, so we work very closely with government, local authorities, regional authorities, innovation organizations that are designed to basically there to support companies that are growing. And we can actually provide them with data on companies in their jurisdiction who are using the search engine and indicating a preference to grow and indicating that they have a capital requirement and they want to expand their business. And ultimately what that does is it means that you can target innovation funding, grants and supporting services for things like export opportunities to those businesses that are using the search engine. And it means that those businesses that might potentially benefit from support find out about that much earlier than they might do otherwise. And hopefully that means a far more steep trajectory and acceleration and growth for those businesses. So that's probably a very brief summary of what we do. If you are building a technology, or if you know of companies that are building technologies that are niche and they're looking for capital, this might be a great way of them starting to build those investor relationships that might end up funding that business's accelerated growth.
Daniel, this is a fantastic service here. And just to reiterate, this is free for people to use.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. So, and I'll go into a little bit of how that's free to use if you don't mind. So, for example, we work with places like Arlington in Virginia. And like the state of Tennessee, the British government, so DBT are actually one of our customers. Also places like Dubai and in Malaysia, where they basically, one of the questions we ask when a business signs up is, which markets are you potentially looking to expand to? And there are inward investment agencies whose job it is to attract. Ultimately, if you say that you want to expand to the UK, for example, or to Malaysia, there are agencies whose job it is to attract your business and ultimately to help you with your business setup in those locations. And we essentially work with them, and there's a commercial relationship there. So they pay us for that type of data, but ultimately it helps that business hit a much larger total addressable market far sooner in their journey than if they didn't know about that support for that expansion and growth.
And just to clarify, how many funds and companies have you got on here?
So 25,000 funds, and we've tracked something like just over 150,000 portfolio company investments in here, and it's been used by probably approaching 5,000 companies in the last 2 years. We actually ran a study on the first 1,500, and we've basically helped them raise over 1.5 billion USD. We've actually used the search engine ourselves to raise for us. So yeah, one of our investors we actually found using our own search engine and identified that he was interested in data science, in venture capital, and yeah, that's what ended up leading to him writing a check into our business.
There's a question in the chat that asks about, what about impact funds? Are they in there too?
Yes, so we have both venture capital and impact funds and corporate venture arms. So just from the top of my head, because I know that there's data in here for this, but if you typed in rocket engine technology, you'll see people like Lockheed Martin, for example. If you go with, for example, more sustainable finance or green finance, you'll often see there are sort of more impact focused funds and foundations that also invest directly into companies too. So we don't distinguish for only venture capital. It just so happens that the vast majority of the funds that we have are venture capital funds because they tend to be very active.
I think on our warm-up, you actually brokered a conversation with Andrew for exactly that, renewable funds. Is that something that might be going forward?
Yes, actually, to be honest, that is a follow-up that I need to do. So that there are a couple of funds in the UK that definitely are relevant from a definitely relevant from this call, and then also there are a couple of companies that I know, having met between that meeting and this meeting, that actually might be relevant partners for this particular opportunity.
I mean, just to say on our warm-up, so you know, Daniel did a quick skip through his database and came up with a list of potential partners for exactly the renewables. So it's a fantastically rapid and brilliant project you've got here. So thank you very much indeed, Daniel. Anything else? What would you like people to do as a consequence of knowing about this?
So I think my ask today would be, if you know of a company that is looking for capital and is potentially finding it difficult, that they might find some use out of this. And really, one of the prime drivers for us is we think that by removing information asymmetry, by removing the payment barrier to access to good information, we can actually spur on a better future happening faster, because those who are building the technologies that are going to make that better future happen are going to be able to, one, be more successful in seeking out of relevant investors, and two, are more likely to succeed in that journey because they secure the capital earlier in their journey. They've got more runway left. They're ultimately more secure and able to think about actually how they maximize the impact of their business, rather than thinking only about how do we find the funding that's going to enable us to sort of just start building this. I'm very happy to share. I'm going to share a link or two in the chat. So please, there's some information in there about us, and then there's also some information. And if you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn to follow up the discussion, very happy to do that too.
Daniel, thank you very much. It's a fantastic project you have here, and I wish you all the luck. I've got a feeling you might end up becoming one of our Bill Gates in the future. So good luck to that. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Be in touch again. Now I'd like to introduce Anzhela Shashchak, who's the director of Cormack. Anzhela, hello, are you there?
Hi, Ashley, thank you very much. And Daniel, you switched off already, but I would like to start a little bit differently to other speakers. And there is a question to you, actually. So Daniel, I think we discussed that, but I just want you to make other participants on this call aware of the opportunities for universities working with your platform, because actually most of those joining today are representing the educational sector. So could you please maybe shortly share, and then I will proceed to what I wanted to say.
Thanks, Angela. And actually, thank you for reminding me. That's very kind of you. So we do actually work with universities here in the UK. So University of Oxford, University of Cambridge. There's a university partnership called Set Squared. And very often what they'll have is academics who are developing fantastic new technologies, but ultimately their current skill set is very much within that aspect of the business, so the domain expertise. Where this is particularly helpful for universities is identify.
Sorry, Daniel, you just froze. No, you just froze. Sorry, yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the pickup. So we're used by universities where they've got technologies that they're looking to develop with various academics to identify which investors around the world they should start building those relationships with, because very often universities will have a particular area of expertise that they're really specialized in, and they're going to be continuously producing new output in. And so they can then use the search engine to identify, okay, is there a fund in the United States, for example, that specializes in, molten salt type technologies that we can use from that perspective. So it really is helping match the knowledge with the potential capital that's interested in that same bit of the frontier of what's currently possible in the world.
A plus C. Thank you very much.
Hey.
Thanks a lot, Daniel. Thank you. So, Ashley, thank you very much for kindly introducing me. I am Director for Projects at Cormack Consultancy Group, as you kindly mentioned. And yes, indeed, in March, Cormack Consultancy Group, with the help to Ukrainian higher education sector. Namely, we have launched the project that is called Twinning. Most of you being on the call today, I think, are aware of the initiative, so I won't go to the roots of it. I will just briefly mention that up to date, we are supporting 105 twinning partnerships, meaning that it is 210 universities working collectively to support Ukrainian higher education during crisis. But now we are very much focused on the rebuilding period, and all the initiatives that have been mentioned today with the focus on the rebuilding side of things are really relevant to what we are doing with Ukrainian universities and with their international partners. Today, I would just like to say that in March 2025, actually in a week or so, we are crossing the line of the first iteration of the first period, let's say so, of the twinning project. So it's a remarkable time for us because during this time we have learned how universities can support universities in other parts of the world, namely in Ukraine, and what can be done on relatively voluntarily basis. So with really low funds for that, and what we can offer in the relation to what my colleagues on the call from Innovate UK, from UKR, were talking about Tech Bridge, and Daniel kindly joining us from the perspective of the business, is probably the network that we have formed and which Ashley has mentioned. And now, what we are experiencing is that twinned universities, which up to date, it was institution to institution collaboration. It is getting bigger, definitely. And I would encourage partners from Ukrainian universities as well as UK universities to use this network more actively. And if you are open to find partners that would be enthusiastic to pick up on the initiatives that Andy has mentioned, or which we have heard from Henry, we are always there to help you to find those partners. We are always there to disseminate the information. And whenever you feel that, you would like to have some additional support from somewhere else, not exclusively UK, again, Ashley, referring to you, we have more than 3,000 partners all around the world, actually. So do not hesitate to reach out to us, and we can point you to specific partners that could support you with that. Also, I would like to mention, because I've seen my colleagues joining from one of the domains that Cormack Consultancy Group is working on is actually our Club Horizon, or EU funding division, and we are running this service of supporting Ukrainian universities as well with their endeavors to access European and other kinds of funding. We are running trainings on grant writing, grant management. So Ukrainian colleagues that are present on the call, don't hesitate to reach out to this part of our team, as well as the UK colleagues joining from the other side. With that, Ashley, I am open to any questions.
Thank you, Anzhela. Could I just ask you a little bit about some of the projects that have come through from the twinning? Just to be a bit commercial for the moment, are there some projects which might actually head towards commercial development, hybridized projects with the UK? What is the status of the kind of projects that are tangible?
Thanks, Ashley. In 2023, UKRI has kindly funded, if my memory is not false at the moment. So it was 33 projects that have been realized through this initiative of the UKRI. In some cases, the developments within those projects were commercialized or were on the stage that could be commercialized. I'm not really aware of the statistics here. Actually, the initiative back then was to support the research. But what we want to do is actually move, and I think we presented at some of the webinars of UBBC, we presented the initiative that is coming, the Excellence Network project that we are going to launch. The plan was to launch it in the beginning of this year. We're a little bit behind the schedule with the funding, unfortunately, but we are going to launch the pilot project in energy infrastructure and green technologies, and that will look at the commercial side of things. So that will be the innovation for the sake of rebuilding rather than the academic research purely.
Could I ask what the Excellence Network is? Because that sounds very relevant to Andrew's £70 million grant.
Exactly. And actually, the idea there is to connect education and research, as well as the reintegration of the population that has been affected by war. So this project actually has these three pillars within it, and the main idea is to link up the element of human capital development and innovation, because what we are working with the Ukrainian government as well on this initiative, and the imperative is that business needs innovation, but as well it needs people who will implement this innovation. So we will be working with academia and businesses, as well as the government, to identify the needs for the business in terms of which kind of human capital and relatedly which kind of academic programs they would need to train this human capital and make these attractive to retain human capital in this area, as well as which kind of innovations would be needed to support the rebuilding in particular area. So actually, Andrew, what you have been talking about is really relevant to what we are going to launch. Just the pilot project would concentrate more on the infrastructure. We can make parallels with what you have been presenting on. In terms of the topics, it will concentrate more on the energy from to switch from gas, for example, and it's more about the infrastructure rather than electricity grid and what you have been talking about.
Okay, thank you very much, Anzhela. Just to say, I think we've pretty much covered everything. Andrew, would you like to have would any of the speakers like a final word at all they'd like to say, anything they've gathered in the course of this event?
I'll just say a few quick words, Ashley. Thank you.
Yeah.
The first thing is, unfortunately, I can't share the presentation in the chat, so I'll share it with you, Ashley. Maybe you can share it separately or by email to the participants. I'm quite happy to share that today, and I'll share the flyers as well that they can share around their networks. Yeah. I also saw a couple of questions in the chat, which I think were directed towards me. I'll answer now verbally. There's a question about finding Ukrainian partners. So we very much will help you to find partners both in the UK or in Ukraine. So if you register on the platform, we can introduce you to our team in Ukraine. The question was actually from a UK partner looking for a Ukrainian partner. So we can introduce you to the team in Ukraine. They do a great job matchmaking UK organisations with Ukrainian organisations. So we'll very much help you with that. There was another question about the funding percentages and whether they're the same between the UK and Ukraine and elsewhere, and they are. So we'll fund between 50 and 70% depending on size. So 70% for an SME, and that's same for a Ukrainian SME or a UK SME or anywhere else in the world. So the funding parameters are effectively the same regardless of location. So I hope it answers the questions, but I'll share the materials with you and happy to engage in any offline discussions that you want to have around helping you to share or prepare. Thank you very much.
Andrew, thank you very much. And just to say, your registration's open on the 10th of March, isn't it? The fund.
Registration's open now, but the application portal will open on the 10th, and it'll be open for 10 weeks.
Great. Good luck, and thank you very much indeed. Henry, did you want to add anything?
Nothing further to add, but I guess there's also opportunities for UK businesses here. Once we've assessed what specific export and trade prospects there are in Ukraine targeting the sectors that we're working on, we'd be very happy to speak to any UK businesses that are interested in exploring those with us as well, on top of the asks for Ukrainian businesses to work with us entering the UK market. Thank you. Daniel, any final words?
I think if there are organizations here that are either sort of in Ukraine working with local technology companies that want to potentially get a better look at their own ecosystem, or to start picking up information from us on, okay, who are the local businesses that are planning to grow, we'd be really keen to do that. We think that ultimately deploying capital more effectively, efficiently, and in a timely manner is going to be really important for accelerating, what is already a very impressive ecosystem that ultimately could become even more capital efficient.
Great. And Anzhela, to hear from you finally.
Thank you very much. Just thank you words, and please do not hesitate to reach out if you have any ideas or you would need any practical help.
Okay, well, thank you very much to all the speakers. Really appreciate it. It's very exciting, actually. And Ukraine Britain Business, we're open for business. We're looking for members. We're growing quietly. And we hope to be sharing more things with you in the future, and hopefully even a visit to Kyiv in the near future. So do sign up for our newsletter if you haven't already, and look forward to hearing everybody. And this will be available as a video on our website, and we'll share it through our newsletter. So thank you all to everybody, and a lot of great success to Ukraine and Britain and all these organizations working together. Thank you too for everybody for signing up. Had a great turnout, so thank you, and I hope it was useful to you all. Bye-bye. Slava Ukraine, by the way.
Slava Ukraine.